When we make our determination, when we make our claim, this is based on our traditions, it's based on oral history, it's based on what's been passed from generation to generation. And no one can take that from us. No one can say, no, that's wrong.
But scientists say the natives are wrong when it comes to how long they've been in the Western Great Basin and how they came to be here in the first place.
The tribes that are here now are clearly, according to genetic data, DNA, related to Asian people, various Asian people, not just one group. And that connection could be very ancient. Some of the first people coming over, they could have come over around 30,000 years ago, before the modern Asian races, developed their distinctive traits, and that's why they look somewhat Asian, but not totally.
There are creation stories that dictate to us that this is where we're from, that we didn't come across the Bering Strait, and we didn't migrate into this area. This is a place that we've always been.
I don't believe that they came out of the ground here. I believe that they're related to all the rest of us. I believe that they are human beings like the rest of us, and that we come from the same origins.
But what science considers proven fact is seen as inaccurate speculation by the Indians.
There is no such thing as scientific certainty. It's a fiction. There's no such thing as racial science. So you can't go back and try to say that this was an Asian because we have conclusive evidence showing that it's Asian or African or even European for that matter.
Two very different points of view that collide when it comes to the issue of native remains and artifacts. The Pyramid Lake and Fallon Paiute tribes are both involved in legal struggles with the Bureau of Land Management over the remains of the world's two oldest human mummies, 9,400-year-old Spirit Caveman, discovered east of Fallon in 1940, and 9,200-year-old Wizard's Beach Man, found at Pyramid Lake in 1966, are in the custody of the Nevada State Museum. The tribes say the mummies are their ancestors, and they want the remains returned to be reburied or repatriated. They also claim the State Museum has conducted illegal research on the remains. But science says the evidence shows the tribes did not evolve from the two 9,000-year-old men, and anthropologists want to keep the mummies for further study and research.
They look more generic. Spirit Caveman could be almost called a generic human because he doesn't resemble any living race in the ways people, forensic anthropologists look at that. And we find that very interesting. That's one of the new things that we've learned in the last few years, is that these early people are really early people. They're not like all the modern people.
If they're claiming there was another race of people here, and this is what I've said publicly, that there is a conspiracy to validate the exploitation of our natural resources when the West was developed, when our land was taken, when our water was taken.
The battle over repatriation is attracting national and international attention, as illustrated by this April 1999 cover story in Newsweek magazine. These busts of Spirit Caveman and Wizard's Beach Man are the work of artist Sharon Long. She formed them according to the dimensions and characteristics of the remains. The actual mummified remains are not allowed to be seen by the public at the request of the tribes. In fact, the natives consider even the discussion of these ancient ones to be dishonor to their memories. And when the burial sites were dug up, the Numa believed the sacred circle of life was broken, and until all the remains are returned to the earth, a spirit's journey cannot continue.
We are created by our Mother Earth, as we say it, and we go back to our Mother when we die. And our spirit continues on that journey. And if that journey is disrupted, we know by our traditions that when things are put away, they're not meant to be seen again. That's just how it is. We don't, I mean, that's like, your relatives. You mourn the loss of your loved ones, but you put with them those cherished items that are theirs. And all those things are not meant to be seen again. That's why they go into that burial. And the same goes for us.
There's a huge black market for Native American remains and artifacts, especially in other countries. Now, even the most innocent-looking arrowhead is protected by law.
It was almost a common thing. Every Sunday afternoon, you had Sunday dinner. Okay, load up the family, load up Grandma and Grandpa, and let's go out to the reservation and see if we can find some arrowheads or see what we can find. Well, what we're trying to do is re-educate and start an educational campaign to inform the public that it's against the law to do that.
A 1990 federal law called the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, or NAGPRA, gives the tribes more legal power to have artifacts and burial remains returned. But legal battles cost money.
The tribe doesn't have the money to go in and fight with these people, get into litigation, because, I mean, it would wipe us out. You know, we have a hard enough time just surviving.
Linda Shoshone is a Washoe who says her tribal history is being dug up and desecrated more than we know.
The whole Truckee Meadows is one big Washoe site. And every time you dig up there, you're going to find something. We were there forever, you know, until the white man came in, moved us aside, but there's still evidence. No matter, if you start excavating up there, you'll find something.
Developers are supposed to stop digging if human remains or artifacts are dug up. But unlike California, Nevada does not require developers to do an anthropological study before excavating. Repatriation is seen by some American Indians as the #1 priority for tribes and individuals. It's one of the few remnants of their past that can be saved.
A lot of our traditions have been lost. A lot of our customs have been forgotten. But that doesn't mean that we can't pick it up and carry them the way we have long ago. I look at, you know, these remains. I look at our ancestors for what they have done, what they have sacrificed in order for us to be here, and that builds, at least for myself, respect to the point of knowing that our honor, the honor that we have to uphold for them, has to be equal to that of what is going to come for our future generations.
But researchers say the ancient remains, especially those of Spirit Caveman, offer mankind answers about the origin of life.
He's the most complete example, not just of the human remains, but of the textiles that go with it, the wonderful fabric that's wrapped around him. And that was a whole new way of seeing the past, because we were able to all of a sudden put into perspective, chronological perspective, the rich texture of the culture.
The future of the Nevada mummies and other remains will ultimately be decided by the courts, as are so many issues involving the native tribes.